Yo, the Warriors aren't just back. They could win a championship this year. How did this happen? The Warriors have looked good all season, but people like me doubted them for several reasons, but really, they had an easy schedule. But all that changed once they exposed the Nets. Steph is playing like an MVP, and they go off in the third quarter like the old Warriors. KD thinks that Draymond will have the ball here after this pass, so he sags off, begging Draymond to shoot a three. But instead, Dre does a dribble handoff with Steph, and Steph is wide open. Now that is super lazy defense by Durant, normally a good defender, or you could say that just Draymond and Steph have the best chemistry in the league. They know what each other is thinking at all times. And I'm surprised actually that Durant didn't know that, having played with them for years. Here's another one. KD misses a three, and instead of running back, Blake Griffin crashes the board, and Bruce Brown is just like ball watching. So that lets the Warriors do what they do best: attack in transition. Again, like the old Warriors. Draymond behind the defense for a wide open dunk. The Dubs averaged the most fast break points per game than any other team in the NBA. Obviously, the Nets didn't bother to read the scouting report. They don't care right now, and that's pathetic. Now, if we go back to the second quarter, you see the Nets' weak link, and it's Blake Griffin. This video is sponsored by MyBookie.ag, and this year on Turkey Day, MyBookie gives you plenty of reasons to be thankful, starting with a $250 risk-free bet on Thursday afternoon when the Cowboys host the Raiders. If you bet the spread between the Raiders and the Cowboys at MyBookie, if you win, you win, but if you don't, MyBookie refunds you up to $250. Simply put, you cannot lose this bet. That is no risk, all gravy. Before you get that wager in, though, set yourself up for success by doubling your first deposit using promo code AMHOOPS at MyBookie. That's promo code AMHOOPS to double your initial deposit all the way up to $1,000. Feast risk-free on Turkey Day with MyBookie. Make sure to stick around for seconds as they gear up for what should be a fun Black Friday. Tons of odds boosts that'll have your belly and your pockets full. Bet anything, anywhere, anytime with MyBookie. Steph is a rare point guard who does most of his damage off the ball. Blake knows this, so he is worried when Steph just cuts right near him. Blake, all of a sudden, keeping one eye on Steph, loses his man, and in all the commotion, he forgets to defend the paint, so it is a wide open dunk for Andrew Wiggins. And make no mistake, Steph created that with his cut, and the fact that the defender, Blake, was so worried about Steph, he left his mark. But what's like really embarrassing is Blake Griffin trying to guard Steph Curry one-on-one. It's not even close. It's like a high school kid trying to guard an NBA player. So the Warriors get the switch, and Steph just is like begging for the ball. Look, he's doing everything he can. He's like, give me the ball, I'm gonna cook this guy. And Blake is just like on skates trying to guard Steph. He can't stick with him. It's embarrassing. Sure enough, once Steph gets the ball, it is over. Watching this finally convinced me Blake Griffin is officially washed. His shooting is so bad, he is afraid to take threes now. He is shooting 17% from downtown. At one point, he was jumping over Kias in the dunk contest. Then knee issues took away that bounce. Blake started to develop his range, but ultimately he never really looked confident in Detroit. It kind of reminds me of like when Giannis takes threes. If he makes it, it's like, all right, I'll take that. But most of the time, it doesn't feel right. But for Blake Griffin, now that his defense is done, it might be over. Blake looks like the Dubs did the last 2 years. I mean, they were on top of the world, dunking over Kias, basically. Steph won back-to-back MVPs in 2015 and 16. They almost won back-to-back championships, but LeBron James took them down to bring a very emotional title home to Cleveland. So after being embarrassed blowing a 3-1 lead, the Dubs reloaded with Kevin Durant. They created maybe the greatest basketball team of all time. Everyone except for like the Cavs and the Rockets and the Spurs, all of them just basically stopped trying because Golden State was that good. Steph and KD rivaled like the biggest duos of all time. Magic and Kareem, Shaq and Kobe, MJ and Pippen. The Dubs won 3 titles in 4 years. It felt like the league was over every season before it started. But then everything fell apart quicker than it all came together. Klay Thompson tore his ACL in the 2019 finals after KD tore his Achilles. Then he left for Brooklyn, and 1 year later, they had the worst record in the NBA. So naturally, no one believed in this team before the season because number one, they missed the playoffs the last 2 years, and number two, the new pieces are kind of unproven. I mean, how are we supposed to know that Andre Iguodala would look like a leader again? Or that Andrew Wiggins would be actually consistent, something he's never been? Could the new players digest Steve Kerr's system, all the guys that they got in the offseason? Turns out the answer is yes to like all of that. The front office made amazing moves, including with their draft picks. I mean, they've got Jordan Poole and Otto Porter and Nemanja Bjelica, Damian Lee. Those are all excellent shooters. Gary Payton II is an excellent defender from the G League. Andrew Wiggins defends too, and he takes really smart shots because he's not counted on to be like the guy every night. They even play like the old Warriors. The Dubs assist on 70% of their passes. Not only does that lead the league, but it is their highest amount since that 2017 title. People wanted Steph to run more pick and rolls to maximize his talent when things weren't going well. It made sense. It's the way that most offenses play, right? I mean, players who spend a lot of time in the pick and roll as the ball handler are Trae Young at number one, 56.2% of his possessions. Then it's Kemba Walker, Chris Paul, Mike Conley, and other guys. All the way down at 74th in the league is Steph Curry at only 26.5% in the pick and roll as the ball handler. The fact that a point guard with the handles of Steph Curry doesn't actually need the ball to play like an MVP makes everybody better. Steve Kerr chose during these bad years not to go away from their system, even when the guys on the team didn't really get it. But now that Steph has smart, talented teammates to run with, that's paying off. And so yes, they have proved all the doubters wrong. They have started the season so great. They look like the old Warriors. And imagine what they're going to be like when they get Klay Thompson and James Wiseman back. Klay has been out for 2 years, which has been horrible for players in the past. I mean, like John Wall or Boogie Cousins, they were never the same again. You could argue getting like 70% Klay back would be best case scenario. The good news though is that number one, people say he does look like Klay in practice. And number two, they don't really need him to be the old Klay. They don't need his defense when they already have the number one defense in the NBA. What they really need is his offense. And because Klay is like the best or second best shooter ever, yes, that will return and it will help a ton. Personally, I'm more concerned about James Wiseman. I mean, last year he was just like thrown into the fire day one as a rookie against the Nets. And he played well at first. But one bad game snowballed into more bad games, and then Steve Kerr benched him, which killed his confidence. I think that Kerr saw like what it was like to throw a rookie in there big minutes on an important team, and that's why he is really taking it slow with Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody. So forget about any Draymond Green trades. And I know that sounds stupid, but when that report broke that Damian Lillard is obsessed with getting Draymond Green, it was worth having a look at.